Alright, so we got the drain plug loose. Both drain plugs drain the transfer case, and we drain the transmission, even though they're interconnected. So what we're gonna do is take the drive shaft out now. Alright, so we pulled the drive shaft. Right there, 4 bolts, 14 millimeter. No reason to hold back on the back side of the nuts, the bolts. The nuts are go in the front when you pull your drive shaft. We pulled off the speedo cable right there, just tuck it up there, and we drained both the plugs. Now we're going to pull this cross member off, attached to the transmission, so we can hold the transmission, have something to grab on. Before we did this, we removed the remote shifter and the rubber boot inside the vehicle. We'll determine whether we need to remove the 4x4 gear shifter or not, lever. If it gets in the way, we'll remove it. Okay. Alright, so we got the front drive shaft loose right here. We're going to leave it attached to the tranny. This is the cross member. We haven't removed that yet. We're going to later. Look, slave cylinder. It's right here, disconnected. So 2 bolts here. They also hold the tranny in place. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts down here undone. This one was the weird bolt. Remember that? This one is actually a nut and a bolt together. It doesn't actually. It's deceiving. 17 back, front 14. So it goes through like this. See that? Through like that. Pushes through and holds the plate in place. There's a plate in between here and the transmission. It's like a spacer plate / flywheel hold down / shield, whatever. So remember that, people. And so we're going to take the other top starter bolt out. That's the actual bitch bolt up there. That's like the 1/8 inch turn, knuckle busting piece of crap. So what else did we do? Okay, we took the other bolts out on this side. We didn't loosen the cross member, like I said yet. Got the drive shaft out in the rear. Got the front loose. And we'll take it from there after. So we got this MUA 5 4-wheel drive tranny out with the transfer case, with the tail, with the cross member and the transfer case shield. There's the clutch, flywheel. We basically bench pressed it out of here and used a crowbar to separate it. So we'll be going at the flywheel later in a minute. As you can see on the top of the tranny right here, we removed the shifting linkages, the remote shifter and the 4-wheel drive shift mechanism, the short bus shifter, and we'll go after it in a minute. Alright, it concludes this bench press episode. Alright, here's our new tranny. We just changed out our sensors. We removed the sensors, the old sensors out of the new tranny. Put the old sensors from the other tranny back in that had the wires attached. And been sitting here collecting dust for a little while. Right around the corner at the Amigo, we got the other tranny out. The one we painted black. That one's probably got 290 after the odometer was disconnected, so 300 plus. This one's got about 150. MUA 5, so we should be good on this. We'll see how this works out. And we have a drive shaft cut and made especially for our size, 29 1/4, I believe, inches. From U-joint to U-joint center. It's up to everybody to measure their own shaft, unless they're using factory equipment. Like I said, this was a conversion. We used a 4x4 pickup to convert this Amigo to 4-wheel drive, an 88 4x4. So we moved. This was a 2-wheel drive Amigo. It works out pretty good. see the two trannies side by side. The two MUA 5. TV blaster. Get this damn crossmember off right now. Get ready to transfer it onto our other one so we can bench press it in. Who needs a transmission jack for a 250-pound transmission? As opposed to what, a 75-pound two-wheel drive tranny? Alright, those are two trannies side by side. New one's ready to go in on newer, lower miles. Previous video, about 2 years ago, shows the rear seal being changed and the inner seal, the front seal being changed, the input shaft seal. And that's the other one that we had in there that was binding and rattling and shit. I think the synchronizer was worn out in it finally. Takes a lot to wear these trannies out, but I guess it happens. Now the new Isuzus, the newer versions are junk. Okay. Alright, so we're going to pull out our stage 3 clutch. Which by the way I do not recommend for 4-wheel drive. This was horrible in the truck. I hated it. We're going to pull this out because we're going to change the flywheel. The flywheel bolts, once we get behind here and get to the flywheel, because we're going to change the rear main seal while we're in here. We're going to get rid of some of this oil residue while we're in here. But just to let you know, these are about 35 foot-pounds right here. These bolts.
I think they're 15 actually.
Are they?
The clutches.
Really?
Yeah, the flywheel are about 50, yeah, 45, 50.
Yeah, well they're getting about 30. I don't care what the book says.
Yeah.
And the flywheel's about 50. And they're going to get Loctite, red Loctite on them. Now I don't know if this flywheel is, the reason I'm changing it is because it's got the other side of the pressure plate on it. And I don't want it to be warped for my new clutch. Plus it's missing some of the dial pins that went through here. I don't see any dial pins sticking out. And I knew that from before. And I didn't really want to run the truck like that because I don't know if it was going to throw this off balance. These bolts really don't suffice for holding this clutch plate, this apparatus, this clutch apparatus into the fingers and all that, into balance. So I would much rather trust the dial pins to do that. Keep this bat. Look, see how it moves around? Look at that shit. That's how far it would be off out of balance with the engine running. For that, that's a lot. That would throw your rear main crank bearing off over time, and that's not good at a high RPM, low RPM, whatever. So that's another reason why I want to change this fucking flywheel. Alright, you can cut video. We'll go to the next. Alright, so here's the flywheel, and here's the pilot bearing. You can see it's still greased, it's still good. This is what we changed last time when we put this clutch on it. It's only been on there about 100 miles. Alright, something to hold back on this, but anyway, these are 17 millimeter in case anybody needs to know, and these bolts were what, 12?
Yes.
12 for the
12 for the clutch apparatus.
Yeah, for the clutch assembly. 17 millimeter for the flywheel, which they're Loctited in. So I imagine from the factory they're a pain in the ass to get off. So I'm gonna have to jam up this flywheel and keep it from turning. Kill that video and get a crowbar. It didn't look like it was just the rear main seal. Looks like some of the bolts are leaking through the Loctite. These actually go through, I think, into the actual crankcase of the engine. I think they go through. I'm not sure. I know one thing, they're going to get sprayed out with carb cleaner, and they're going to get this damn, looks like somebody changed the oil pan gasket in the past. I see RTV red. That could be Japan's, but I doubt it. No, look, the different. Well, that could be stock. I don't know. We'll find out. All I know is we're gonna pull this sumbitch out. This bearing. I mean this. Yeah, look, I can see space on this side of the crank. On that side. We're gonna change that. All right. To change this rear main seal, you want to go in on the crank side, and then get it bite out with your hammer, and pry outward like this. I ain't worried about that oil. Let it drip. So you pry outward, get the whole damn thing out like that. Alright, this is obviously some kind of shitty factory seal, I think. And that's where I broke it. I don't see a spring in it. So I don't see a spring inside of it. So I don't know if it was just a cheapo or what. You see my Felpro. You want to try to use Felpro if you can still get your hands on it for Isuzu. I imagine Honda.
GM.
Yeah,
Honda,
still
Isuzu.
fits GMs and Hondas, so you might be able to get the same part through a Honda. There's your part number, whatever. So, pause the video if you need a part number. So there's your part number, your national. Well, it's made in Mexico, go figure. Anyway, that one's got a spring on it, like I thought. That would fit around your crank after I clean this junk up. Alright, cut. Alright, so you want to install your new seal. You want to lube it up with a little bit of oil. You don't want to get a dry start on it because you'll just burn it. When you start the engine, you'll just burn it. I mean, that little bit of time will damage it. So you just want to give it a little bit of lubrication to start. So we got a little bit on here. We'll clean the threads out again. We didn't get any in the threads really. We got some on the outer edges here. Don't try to Velcro. Don't try to seal this in. And then you want to don't try to seal it in with gasket seal. You want to spin it, kind of spin it on the shaft first, and then get it kind of even. You don't want to get it catacomb. You want to get it even, and then I'm gonna come back with a soft piece of wood and my little hammer. Because I'm not playing games with a rubber mallet right now. I don't have time to go dig that out. Alright, cut. Alright. Got the new Exidy. We got the new Exidy clutch pressure plate. And flywheel. We got red Loctite on the clutch bolts. On the pressure plate bolts. And then we got the alignment tool, of course, in here, fitting in nice and ready for the tranny input shaft to go in. And then we got the flywheel down, torqued, about 50 pounds pressure, 50 psi, I don't know, 50 foot-pounds of torque. What the hell am I? I'm tired. And we got red Loctite on everything, so we're good to go with that. And I'm glad to have these dowel pins back. These are very important to keep your engine balanced. These dowel pins were completely sheared off the old flywheel, and that was the reason for replacement. And there goes our tool. We don't need any more plastic. And got a good torque. We're good to go. Alright, on to the next. One other thing I want to add. We looked up everything we could find online, and we also looked through all the manuals, Haynes, Chilton's, etc. We couldn't find anything on the flywheel going in a certain direction on the crankshaft. What we did was we lined it up kind of similar to the way the other one was lined up, but we found out there's balancing holes drilled in the back of the flywheel to relieve, I guess, to take away some of the weight in certain areas, which tells me that the flywheel is externally balanced, which means the engine's internally balanced, or it uses the front harmonic wheel balancer to help balance it, or it's just internally balanced, period. It doesn't matter. Point is, doesn't really matter which way you put this flywheel on. The 4ZE1 2.6L. all 8 bolts, and just line it up, put it on, and then put your clutch back on. I think that only matters when it's only used to you're using the same equipment. It doesn't matter when you're using new equipment, because the old equipment's already broken in a certain pattern, so you want to stick to that. Sort of like changing rocker arms and shit like that. You want to number them and stuff like that, and keep your alignment right. Okay, that's that. All right, we're gonna test four high and low. We already locked the hubs, the manual hubs. Let's see. Let's try 4 high.
Cool.
That's 4 high. That's cool. Let's pull it. Let's try 4 low.
Yeah, going.
Go outside, check it. Check underneath the vehicle.
Yes. No dripping oil.
Check from the front.
Yep.
Let's see how low works in the front. See if the tires are pulling all of it.
Rear. Only the rear wheels. Only the rear. You're making a mark with the rear wheels. What?
Front tires aren't barking?
Not yet. Must be the new clutch. Now they're barking. There we go. Now they're barking.
Alright.
The factory clutch, you gotta give it a little bit more.
Alright, well I guess that concludes our video. When we make this boot and put it back on, we got a new boot to put back on. Of course they don't have the four-wheel drive boots anymore for the Amigo. So what we'll do is we'll make a boot like we made another one in the past. Alright, so we took another boot off of something else, or a small shifter. We cut it, we riveted it, we put washers on the back side of the rivets, we put weather strip adhesive, and we glued that down. Of course, once it was on and it was hidden underneath everything, you couldn't see all this ugliness with this cover over it. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take our new boot that we ordered like this, the 2-wheel drive only, and we'll take this and we'll modify it. This time, I've learned a lesson. We should probably go ahead and cut it right around this area, underneath this flap, and either tuck it under or something else, because it does ride a little high up here, and it lets exhaust fumes and crap escape through this hole. So that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and sink this down lower by mounting this, eliminating this and mounting this lower. Or go from the underside and mount it. That's what we'll do. We'll keep this lip and mount it from the underside. We'll cut a square hole, mount it from the underside, pull this through. That way this is lower profile, stays down on the shifter. And the reason we're replacing this is because we got that dry rot. And unfortunately, you can't really find these brand new anymore, so you got to do the best you can at getting the best used one you can get.
Remember how hard it was finding the one we bought?
Yep, we bought it used from a guy who rated us on the price. But hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. And, we'll probably stick a CD or something here and hide this carpet cut out. And then, yeah, I guess. Looks like it's working. Next, we're doing what? Air condition.
Air condition, compressor
New
replacement.
compressor, and converting it over to 134A with a bigger condenser in the front instead of factory equipment. Turns out 1994, the last year of this model Amigo, maybe even 93, but 93 and 4, I think it's 93 and 4 or late 93 and 94 only, have the 134A conversion already converted. So they're using an old style system compressor with just a slightly modified configuration of lines. The only thing that's different is the condenser coil in the front. It's bigger because 134A needs a bigger condenser to cool as half as good or 3/4 as good as R12, yeah. So I think when we converted ours, we got lucky and found a 94 in a junkyard, and we took the condenser out of it, and we put it in the front and the lines and all, and it cooled like a champion. It was so cold in here, the compressor started, we stressed the compressor basically. Old compressor, we stressed it out, so we blew the compressor out. So we'll be changing the compressor, we'll be blowing out lines, we're going to probably change the dryer, and of course we need a dryer for a 94 because we took that dryer with that unit together, that condensing unit. But that's the only way to have a true cold converted over 134A system. An R12 system with 134 Freon, if anybody's ever converted their Amigos or something from the early years, or their Troopers or anything, they'll know that it was very, the AC was very iffy. It was like not cold at all. It was like medium cool, and it sucked. So the only way to get it truly as cold as today's vehicles is to put that bigger condenser in the front. I'm sure you can modify some off another automobile, but we just happen to get Isuzu equipment, and that's what we'll be doing next time we make a video. But anyway, so we got the tranny in and we got it all hooked up, and then after that we'll make a video doing a complete valve rocker arm assembly job. We're going to change the cam, the rocker arm assembly, and we got a rocker arm in the front that makes this truck idle a little rough, and it makes that tick because the rocker arm shaft that the rocker arm rides on is worn out. So the rocker arm, you can never adjust it to where it doesn't have a tic-tac. And it's always been that way, and we've driven it that way ever since. But once we make we replace all that with used parts from a fairly low mileage engine that we got, we're going to take the whole assembly that was on the other engine off and put it on this engine and mount it to the head so that we can have a different rocker arm assembly. We're going to use the same cam bearings with a different cam. That way we can break it in right. I mean, we shouldn't go wrong with the cam bearings. We torque all that down and get it right. I'm going to change the rocker arms. Are we going to change the cam?
Yeah.
Just in case there's a worn lobe on the other cam?
Yes.
On this cam?
Yeah. I think we actually looked at it when we took it out of the donor vehicle and decided it was in better condition.
That's true. Also, we need that cam, those lobes to ride on those new, the same rocker arms that we all have staggered in a position.
They're all worn in the same place.
Yeah,
From the same engine.
From the same, from the same cam. So we'll be matching original rocker arm to original cam.
which is a good thing. Intake and exhaust. So I guess that concludes the video for now.